Hey everybody, it's Bud from Bud's Northeast Outdoors again. It's good to talk to you. I'm going to try and keep this one a little shorter. I know I can get carried on and ramble away, but anyway, I just love fishing so much and I love talking about it. But anyway, this is part 2 of the ice fishing 17-18 year series. Anyway, today we're going to talk about other essential items. Obviously you need the fishing poles, the tip ups, that kind of stuff. Bait, you know, I'll get into the bait thing, how to contain it and keep it up and that kind of stuff. But anyway, today we're going to talk about essential items other than what I showed you the other day. And one of those being an auger. So lately I have noticed there's this device called the K-Drill. And oh my god, I was at Runnings the other day. I know they had them on Black Friday for under $200. But anyway, it's like an aluminum auger. Very lightweight, very easy to handle. It uses a drill. You have to buy the drill. I got a DeWalt 20 volt. They recommend 20 volts with brass gears, not the plastic gears. So like a DeWalt, a Milwaukee, something really good, top end. So anyway, what I got is I bought last year an Eskimo hand auger. And this was $33. Okay, so I drilled through about 24 inches of ice last year at the Washington Derby. First derby I ever did. Didn't do real well. You know, it wasn't the best conditions. We got out there late. I didn't realize we had to drive all over the place, get our entries and enter, and then we were heading to another place that was about 20 minutes away, and then we had to go out and set up, and we had to find places to park. You know, my first derby. And I was going with a guy that, you know, he knew what he was doing and he knew where to fish, or he thought he had a good spot picked out, but neither one of us really caught much. So anyway, this setup right here cost me, this auger part cost me $33. This is part of that Eskimo auger. And I have a hook to a 20 volt DeWalt drill that I also bought at Runnings. And the thing is supposedly good for about 20 holes in about 18 to 20 inches of ice. So she works pretty good. You know, I mean, it is what it is. It's my cheaper version and I am cheap. If I can find it, be quiet, you've been bad all day. There's no pug in this video. He's been evil. He's the evil pug today. So anyway, he peed all over my kitchen floor after he went out. And by the way, I'm charging up my trolling motor battery on the boat because tomorrow's supposed to be an okay day. It's going to be cold, about 39, but there's only going to be like they're saying maybe 5 mile an hour winds up until noon. So I'm going to go out and try to jig for walleye, and we'll try to film that for you too. But anyway, he went out and he came back in and he did that. He's had this thing marking his territory lately, and he's really winding me up. He's going to be grounded a lot. When he does that, I hook him up. I've got a spot on my kitchen table with a little leash, and you know, I'm rambling again. But anyway, I don't let him loose. I make him stay there, and he's mad right now because of that. So if you hear him in the background, I apologize. He's just voicing his displeasure. So anyway, this is my light duty drill. This right here comes with a spare battery. I got it at Runnings for about $219. It was on sale this summer. They're probably about $260 now. I don't know how much the spare batteries cost, but it is a 20 volt lithium ion battery. It's variable speed. It's got the torque setting here, but you're not really going to need that on the ice. The only problem you have is this right here, when you're tightening the drill, can end up being a knuckle buster. You want to make sure you have it held from the top, because this thing here will spin once it grabs. And the other thing is I got the Strike Master auger adapter, which I'll show you here real quick. This is like $15 at Runnings. So it makes it so that you can take, and this is the adapter itself. It just slides right into this auger thing, and then you take and line up the nut right here. And I may actually use a bolt so that this right here is not a knuckle buster, so to speak, or maybe something with a wing nut or something smaller, because you don't really need this big thing here. I mean, it's not like this drill's going to put out enough torque to snap something off. But anyway, so $33 for this, and if the drill runs out of juice, it has the hand auger adaptation, So you can actually use this as a hand auger. I don't know as if I'd recommend that, because like I say, I tried it through 20 inches of ice last year. I won't say the drills are, I won't say the blades are not sharp, but I had to push down a little bit on it, and you know, first time using it, you never know. I mean, there could be a better way of doing it. I probably could look at the directions on TV, on YouTube or something. But anyway, that's that. This unit right here weighs 6.8 pounds. Okay? So, I'll show you my next thing. Once the ice gets probably thicker than 20 inches, or you want more than 5 holes, this is probably right here what you're going to want. That's the Jiffy Power Auger. That baby right there will go through 4 feet of snow. Or, excuse me, ice. It'll go through snow too, but it's made for the ice. So anyway, this here is the Pro 4. It's propane tank. It usually starts on the first pull. Sometimes it may take 2 pulls if it's really cold out and the tank's cool. But once the motor starts, usually the tank warms up from the temperature of the motor, and you have no issues with that. I've never actually had an issue. I don't know if I've told you before, but I used to teach a Let's Go Fishing program for the state of New Hampshire as a volunteer. And I was introduced to these because Cabela's, yes, Cabela's, donated these free to the state of New Hampshire. They're a good company. They do a lot for outdoor sports. But like I say, the only problem with this baby, it's durable, it starts good, but it weighs 35 pounds. So carrying it around from hole to hole and dragging it out in your sled, right there you've got about 29 pounds more than you do with this other one that I just showed you. But when you got 3 feet of ice, that right there is the puppy to cut through it. Okay? I mean, we did the Let's Go Fishing programs for an entire year. Okay? And everybody got to try them out at one point or another. Well, at the end of that year, guess what? Everybody was fighting over these things. Nobody wanted to use the gas and oil ones anymore because they're a pain in the butt. You got to choke them. No choke on this. No oil mixture. No gas. It's a propane tank like you use on your, right there. You see it? That right there is like what you use on your barbecue grill. And that puppy will last. I mean, like I say, we had that for a whole year. And we had some of these that actually went the whole year on that one tank, you know, with the Let's Go Fishing program. So you know they were well used. So anyway, that's my secondary drill. That's not my next, actually most preferred. But I haven't tried this one with a drill yet, with the actual DeWalt 20 volt. So we're going to have to see how that goes. This could be my mainstay anyway. But when you get to be my age, the less weight you have to pull out, the better. And like I say, 20 inches or more of ice, especially if you're a hand auger guy. The only issue with this, other than weight, is you're going to spend $525 or more for one of these. They do make one, it's called the Pro 4 Lite. I think it's about 5 or 10 pounds less. They also have ion augers. That's the actual name of the brand. They're made with a lithium-ion battery. I hear those only weigh 22 pounds. I had a friend, Mr. Cole, that owned Upper Valley Outdoors, and he had one for a whole year and he never had an issue with it. I'm always worried a little bit, well, what if I forget and leave it in the car? How's the battery going to make out? That kind of stuff, you know, because batteries don't do well in the cold. But it doesn't seem that this here has had any issues, the ones that I'm talking about. I know Strike Master come out with some this year that are also lithium ion, and it comes with a spare battery. So I don't know if that's because the batteries maybe don't hold up charge after charge, or if maybe, you know, it's so you get extra holes out of it. You have a backup in case you start to drill it out to the point where there's no juice left. So that's the second item. And I wouldn't go fishing without either one of these, either the power auger or this one here with the drill. You know, like I say, I'm gonna attempt to see how good this is first ice. And we'll probably go through till we get 16 inches to maybe 20 inches of ice. And we'll see how many charges I get. Like I say, I got a spare battery. As long as we keep them warm, I'll bring them into work with me. That'll be the way we go. So the next essential item right here is this flasher unit. This is a Vexlar. I bought this probably, oh, I would say, I don't know, probably as long ago as I started ice fishing almost. No, it wasn't that long ago. My daughter was about 8 years old when I bought this. So anyway, this right here, it has a transducer, just like a boat. It's self-contained in the back. It's got a float right here, so you can adjust up and down how far it goes down in the water, because obviously you don't want it to go down too far. You know, just below the ice is probably optimal. So anyway, what we'll do is we'll kind of show you in a way how it works. I don't know if you can see the different lines and stuff there, but I'm holding this transducer over my leg, and it's not in water. That's how sensitive this thing is. If you look right, oh, there we go. You can see there's like red and yellow lines mixed in with it. So anyway, where the red and yellow lines are is usually a fish of some sort, or your lure. You can see your lure. It's like a faint line going up and down, and you adjust the power on your Vexilar to match what you have for a lure. You want to just be able to see the lure moving up and down. You know, obviously I can't do that right now because we're not in the water, but later on when we're ice fishing this year, I will show you that. But if you see that red, that's usually a fish if it's not your lure. And you'll see either a yellow or red line move up and down to maybe come up and get your bait. Usually they get it as you're bringing it up. Okay? And what you do is you just jig and you see these things move in. If it's a yellowish orange color, that usually means the fish is off to the side a little bit. You can adjust the sensitivity. It has a sensitivity mode right here where you can adjust it up and down so you can see your lure. And the higher you put it up, the more clutter you'll have on the screen. It'll show more weeds and stuff, more green stripes. And usually you don't want it any more sensitive than just to see your lure. You'll usually see grass and stuff. Well, anyway, what'll happen right now, what you're seeing is, that's called the bottom lock. The red, you'll actually see a red stripe on bottom. And right here on this gauge, it shows you how far up and down you are, what the depth is. Right here is also another switch. If you look, it shows off, ×1, ×2, ×3, ×4, and ×10. So on this scale here, you see that it goes 10, 20, excuse me, it goes 5, 10, 15, and 20. So what you have there is how deep the water is. So if it's more than 20 feet deep, you put it on ×2, and then it'll pick up down to 80 feet. If you put it on ×3, it'll pick up down to 120 feet. So, you know, and on and on and on, up to ×10, which is 200 feet. So what ends up happening, Nike, please, I'm having a hard time concentrating, so if I got those numbers wrong, just remember, it's times whatever this number right here is. So anyway, what you have here is a piece of equipment that will pick a fish up a ½ an inch off the bottom. A ½ an inch. It's that sensitive at 200 feet. And it'll show you the fish come up after your lure. It'll show you a 64th ounce lure. Be quiet, or I'll spank you. So anyway, and then, shut up! So anyway, where it says 0 next to that 20, well, excuse me, where it says 10, well, no, I'm wrong. Been a while since, it's been about 6 months. So anyway, if you look down on the bottom, you see a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That right there is a thing called bottom lock. I don't know if I can show you that. Let me see. So bottom lock is something that, I don't see it, but it's on here. Okay, it's right here. The BL. This here's auto zoom. and then you have bottom lock, and that's low power, high power. So depending on how deep the water is, you don't obviously need full power if you're picking up a lot of clutter, and if you can't adjust it with the sensitivity thing here, it's still got a lot of clutter, you can put it on low power. If you're in like 200 feet of water, you're obviously going to want it on high power. So, and then it has bottom lock, and what bottom lock is it shows you the bottom 6 feet. So that's what that 1 through 6 is on that side. That'll actually show you what's going on down there. What it does is it separates, it cuts the screen in half. So you have to understand when you put it on bottom lock, you're only going to get down to 20 feet right there, instead of where it says, you know. So right here you're going to have to take and do that number times the scale on the side. So anyway, this thing's very versatile. It does a lot of things, and you're fishing blind if you don't have one. Back when I bought this thing, this is against Pro Pack. It comes with a carry case. It's got like a quarter nylon, almost like a boat cover case on it, as you can see, and it's waterproof. It's got the nylon thing, so if you got freezing rain or something going on, get my cell phone out of the way here, and the battery. So anyway, this right here is what I consider an essential item also, because really if you don't have this, you're really kind of fishing in the dark. You're fishing blind. Another item I have, which I don't know if I would consider it an essential, and you'll get to see that later. Right now I'm having an issue with it. I blew a fuse in it last year, so it's apart. That's a little pocket size Aqua-Vu. It's about the size of my cell phone. It's got a 50-foot cable, a little tiny camera, probably the size of a spool of thread, you know, that your wife uses to fix your pants or whatever with. Sews the patch on your arm sleeve. But anyway, it's got a tiny camera like that. You drop down the hole, it's got a couple attachments that'll hold it at 90-degree angle to look across the bottom. It also has a down view attachment and up view attachment. They're all pretty cool. But anyway, you can have some that actually take SD cards and record. Mine's not quite that fancy right now. I'm actually looking at updating that. I might get a new one depending on what it costs me to fix this other one. So with that said, this helps you find the fish. It doesn't necessarily find the fish, but it shows one of the best techniques for getting fish to come to you is pounding the bottom in a sandy area. It makes it puffy, like a puff of dust come up in the water. The fish can see that better than your lure from a long ways away. So, and they can feel it, the kind of the thump in their lateral line. So what ends up happening, they come over to investigate it, you see that on your fish finder, on your Vexilar, you pick the lure up about 6 inches off the bottom, which you can't see the cloud on the Vexilar. It's not that sensitive that it picks up that silt. But what you'll see is the fish will kind of rise up, because the fish will be looking in the dust cloud to see what's making the dust. And then all of a sudden he sees your lure come up, which is usually a tiny 64th of an ounce, like, I don't know, spinning jigs, or Lindy makes stuff. Northland makes a lot of lures. But I use a little tungsten jig. And what'll happen is they'll see that come up out of that cloud of silt, and I'll have the maggot on, and they'll be like, oh man, dinner, that's what was making it. Or something was after it, and that thing's trying to escape. Well, as the fish seems to have interest in it, you might just see a yellow band as it's looking at it, because the cone angle will pick it up outside, and it won't be a strong signal because it's not right down under the transducer. But what happens is, as the fish comes in, you can tell as he gets closer to your lure, because that line will turn from yellow to orange to red. And when it turns red, that means he's like right there. And when you see the two red lines, your lure and the fish line, and the fish line's probably 2 lines thick, so you know it's a fish. But anyway, when you see the two of them collide, most of the time you want to set the hook. That's where the Aqua-Vu comes in, because you can actually see the fish suck the lure in. But like I said, that Aqua-Vu, I did have an issue with mine. It took and had an issue with the fuse. I was plugging it in to charge it up in my car, and it didn't work so well. But anyway, another essential item are picks. this here's a safety thing. These right here, they go around your neck. They got a stretchy thing. I usually put a bobber, a medium-sized bobber on the back, but for some reason I took it off this year. I'm not really sure why. But a lot of these models do not float. I do know the clam ones do. They'll float on the top. But if you pull these apart and lose them, yeah, they slip out of your hands because your hands are wet and cold and you're in the water, you're panicking. If you have a bobber on them, they'll float. Unless they're the clam ones, and they float anyway. But what you do is you pull these apart. They got a couple sharp picks in them, and it allows you to drag yourself. You kick like you're swimming with your back feet, and you just pull yourself out on your belly, out onto the ice. These jab into the ice and pull you out, and it could save your life. And anyway, you put these together. That way the sharp picks are inside, and you're protected from them. But anyway, that right there is very, very important. Never go out on the ice. I don't care if it's 3 feet thick. Never go out with these things not around your neck. If they're in your sled or in your pocket, you're probably not going to have time to use them. I mean, you have plenty of time to get out of the water. They say that you got about 4 minutes before you lose mobility to the point from being cold and your actual energy level to pull yourself out of the water. But anyway, that right there is what I consider the biggest safety item. If you're one of these guys, now see, I'm chicken. I take it easy. I don't go out when there's 2-3 inches of ice. I wait till there's 4. 4 inches of ice is supposedly good for a small group. I don't know if you've seen me, but my belly is the size of a small group, okay? You've seen that with my cooking stuff. I love the barbecue. I love the rotisserie. I love all of it. I like to do the Dutch oven. And I do a lot of it in the house during the winter too, where I'll use my grill outside. We're still going to do that dump cake. I haven't forgot about that, but it's just been so cold and windy, especially the wind. The charcoal's not super effective this time of year. If I close it in my grill, I know exactly where 350 is on my grill for the most part. I mean, if it's super cold, I have to turn it up a little more or down a little more, but we are going to do that soon. And I can tell you, I tried the dump cake and it didn't work out super well because I put too much soda and too much syrup from the peaches in. But this next time I'm going to use half the soda. I'm only going to use half a 20-ounce bottle, and I think I'm going to drain about half the syrup out of the peaches. You just dump it in. You put the pie mix in, or the cake mix, the cake batter. I use the white one. You could use chocolate. You could use anything you want. You know, you could use chocolate and dump cherries in. And I bet, you know, maybe a half a cup of chocolate milk or something like that would work okay. You know? Or like hot cocoa or whatever flavor you like. But I took and used orange soda and the peaches. And guess what? If you like those ice creamsicles, the orange ones, oh my God, that's exactly what it tasted like. Even though it didn't cook all the way through and it was more like pudding cake. But I want to show you a good outcome. And I did tell you I'd give you an update on that, how that come out. So anyway, those are the essential items that you're going to need, okay? People that go out with less than 4 inches of ice, and you should do this, I mean, when you first go out and you're not sure what the conditions are, you should always drill a hole about every 6 to 10 feet all the way out to your destination, just to check the ice thickness. For you people that go out on a super thin ice, God love you, I pray for you. But those guys they have a spud bar, which is like a long, heavy steel bar with a chisel on the end of it. A lot of guys do call it a chisel, but you know, other people call it spud bar. Well, what they do is they walk a couple feet and they pound that thing on the ice. If the chisel breaks through the ice, you know you probably should back up because the ice is getting thinner. And if it busts through with that spud bar, it's not safe for you to walk on. Me personally, I don't think anything under 4 inches is safe for me to walk on. And they say 6 inches will hold a snowmobile ATV, 8 inches a small car. I don't know. Don't quote me on this. Don't hold me to it, but I believe it's 10 to 12 inches for a small truck. And then anything above 12 inches is pretty much, you know, any size truck, car. But the ice is never safe. Just remember that. It's never safe. You can be out on 18 inches of ice on a warm day and it's all like snow cone. First ice where it's super clear, they call it black ice because it's it looks dark underneath, but it's just super clear. It's like glass. You can see through. You can see the air bubbles where, you know, the plants were releasing the oxygen coming up through. And that right there, that is the best, the safest ice, in my opinion, when it's 4 inches. Okay? But guys go out with spud bars all the time. And these spud bars, you know, don't think you can take a broomstick and duct tape a chisel onto it and you're going to get the same effect. These spud bars probably weigh 25 pounds. So, and they have a wrist strap around them, so when it breaks through, you don't lose it. It holds it on your wrist. So, you know, please be safe out there, especially if you're inexperienced. Maybe the first few times, go with somebody that actually knows what they're doing, or at least has been out before. Not necessarily this year, but in the past, and has a little bit of experience with ice thickness. If you go around a rocky area, the ice will be thinner because of the radiation, the solar radiation from the sun keeps that water there warmer. If there's a log, same thing. If there's current, and it doesn't mean a stream, you can have current on a lake. You can have a point that sticks way out, the wind blows, and if it blows, say, from east to west and the point sticking out from north to south, it'll push the water around that front of the point and it forms current right there, so it'll be a lot shallower. Another good rule of point is right near the shore, especially towards the end of winter, it's always thinner because the water runs off the melt and melts that ice up against the shore. I've actually gone through, the only time I've gone through was over at Newfound Lake over in Bristol, New Hampshire, and that was about 3 feet of water. But I had 18 inches of ice out in the center where I was fishing. Not the center, but the center of the bay out by the state park. So, you know, it varies greatly. And there's a lot of different things. If there's a spring underneath, and it's hard to know where springs are. That's one of those deals you just got to be careful and know your lake. And that's why you take your time going out with either the spud bar or the drill. So, Nike, be quiet. The bud with no pug today. He might end up not even being on a show anymore if he doesn't smarten up. He doesn't go ice fishing anyway. But he'd be up in the chair with me right now. That's what he's mad about. I'm getting all the attention. So anyway, you know, like I say, be super, super careful. Go out the first couple times with somebody you know. Wait until you feel good and comfortable about the ice. You hear the ice popping and cracking a lot, especially on cold days. That's the ice expanding and contracting. And what happens there is that as the ice grows, it pops and cracks to make room for itself. Okay? So that's not necessarily something to be scared of. I'll tell you what is eerie is when you're sitting in your little pullover and you're sitting there and your feet are on the ground and you're jigging in a hole in front of you. You're jigging away and all of a sudden, pop, crack forms right between your feet. I'll tell you what. Quick little story. My stepson and I were out ice fishing over at Lake Massasecum one day. I was drilling a hole. Had a hand auger. This was back when I was brand new. Had no clue about anything really. Like I said, and you know, I'm not claiming to be an expert now, but I know a lot more now than I did then. Well, anyway, there was this Ford Bronco racing up and down the lake. And what happens is when a vehicle does that, goes more than about 10-15 miles an hour, it forms a wave. And the wave will crash into the shore and come back at the vehicle. And that's when the ice cracks. And that's actually kind of dangerous to do, no matter how thick the ice is. Because it'll make like an ice heave and, you know, it can just like shatter underneath you. So, I don't drive a vehicle out on the ice anyway. The only place I've ever driven out on is Lake Champlain with Bob Dossity when he had his Bob D Classics. And we had 4 feet of ice. I mean, the old Jiffy was buried right up to the handles, and I barely got through. That was about 20 years ago, before this global warming thing. So anyway, that right there are the other essential things you'll need other than your ice rods, your tip-ups, and a little bit of knowledge on the ice, what it does, and how to be careful of certain areas. You know, like I say, be safe out there, guys. You know, no fish is worth dying for. And let me tell you, that day I took that little crack into Newfound Lake and it went up to my knees. So it probably wasn't even 3 feet deep, you know. We all exaggerate as fishermen. But it got in my boots and I still had to walk about a quarter mile to my car. I stopped, emptied my boots out, and of course the liners are still soaked, and dummy me, I didn't pull the liners out, so I'm walking squish, squish, squish all the way back to the car. My feet were just about froze off of me, and of course my pants were wet, you know, up to the knees, and it was a miserable ride home. I ended up turning the heat on in the car on high and took and rode all the way home with bare feet, and that heat blasted me as much as I could get it to. So anyway, until next time, you know, this is Bud from Bud's Northeast Outdoors. You take care and good fishing. And, you know, do me a favor, like and subscribe if you like these informational videos. Like I said, I used to teach Let's Go fishing classes for the state of New Hampshire. And, oh, jeez, look at that. The phone's ringing off the hook, I'm so popular. But anyway, we'll let you go. And take care out there. Be careful. You know, no fish, not even a state record, is worth your life. So be safe and have fun. Talk later. Bud out.